worst homelessness crisis ever. Those on the low end of the economic spectrum are being absolutely pulverized by this economy, Michael Snyder reports. All over America, our core urban areas are teeming with tent cities, hordes of homeless drug addicts, and vast throngs of newly arrived migrants that don't have anywhere to go. When I wrote about this topic 1 year ago, homelessness in the U.S. was at an all-time high record, and it was increasing at the fastest pace ever recorded. It was going to be hard to top that, but somehow we did. Fast forward to today, and homelessness in the U.S. has reached another all-time record high, and it is increasing at an ever faster pace. We're literally in the midst of the worst homelessness crisis that our federal government has ever measured, and there is no end in sight. When the rest of us discuss the economic pain that we are experiencing, many on the high end of the economic spectrum wonder what all the fuss is about because things will seem pretty good to them. But for many of those on the low end of the economic spectrum, it feels like a full-blown economic collapse has already begun. On Friday, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development revealed that the homeless population in the U.S. jumped 18% in just 1 year. Homelessness in the U.S. soared to the highest level on record, according to government data released Friday. More than 770,000 people experienced homelessness in 2024, an 18% increase from 2023, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development reported. It was the largest annual increase since HUD began collecting the data in 2007, excluding the jump from 2021 to 2022, when the agency did not conduct a full count due to the COVID-19 pandemic. If homelessness is at the highest level ever and it's rising at the fastest rate ever, your economy is not okay. Let's just be real for a moment. I'm so sick and tired of the Biden administration and mainstream media telling us everything is just fine. More than 750,000 Americans are homeless, and that is just the ones that are able to find and count. The true number is certainly far higher. We're being told that the spike in homelessness is happening because we don't have enough affordable housing and because we are not able to absorb all of the migrants that have been pouring over our borders. In fact, in 13 communities that have been heavily impacted by migration, family homelessness more than doubled. Migration had a particularly notable impact on family homelessness, which rose 39% from 2023 to 2024, according to the report. In the 13 communities that reported being affected by migration, family homelessness more than doubled. When we think of the homeless, we tend to think of older men with addiction problems, but the truth is that approximately 150,000 children are living in the streets at this point. Massively concerning is that 150,000 children experience homelessness, a 33% jump in 2024 when compared to the prior year. What is wrong with us? Why can't we get this crisis under control? Our politicians like to give speeches about affordable housing, but housing just continues to become more unaffordable. Rents have continued climbing since briefly dipping lower during the pandemic as well. As of 2023, nearly half of renters spent more than 30% of their income on housing, qualifying them as cost-burdened according to the U.S. Census Bureau. Every day, more precious people on the low end of the economic spectrum are being evicted from their homes. Every day, the homeless population in this country just gets even bigger. And now we have entered a time when finding a decent job is going to be quite a bit more difficult. U.S. private sector full-time jobs have dropped by nearly 2 million over the past year, and such a drop has never happened outside of recessions. The only gain in full-time jobs has been in the government sector. We aren't buying the propaganda any longer. They keep trying to convince us that everything is just fine, but that it clearly is not the truth. When Don Lemon tried to convince a random man that he was interviewing that the economy is actually better than under Biden, the man responded with a hearty laugh. 4 years ago, it was a lot better. I made a lot more money than I do now, the man said. Incredibly, rather than try to understand the man's perspective, Lemon argued with him. Lemon said, "I know you feel that way, but that's not actually what the records show. The economy is actually better under Biden." That prompted a hearty laugh from the interviewee. We can see the tent cities that are popping up like mushrooms all over the major cities. We can see the hordes of people that are sleeping in their vehicles in retail parking lots at night. And we can see that prices at the grocery store are far, far higher than they used to be. According to the national survey that was just released, approximately 70% of U.S. adults believe that the U.S. economy is in poor condition right now. About 7 in 10 U.S. adults rate the country's economic state as very or somewhat poor, up slightly from about 6 in 10 in October. Self-identified Democrats are primarily driving the recent negativity. About 6 in 10 Democrats describe the U.S. economy as good in October, with Republicans on the verge of controlling the executive and legislative branches. Only about half of Democrats say that now. That same survey also discovered that about a third of all U.S. adults are either extremely or very concerned about being able to afford groceries over the next few months. The new AP NORC poll shows that about 1/3 of Americans say they're extremely or very concerned about their ability to afford groceries over the next few months. About 3 in 10 are highly worried about being able to afford holiday gifts, gas, or electricity. There are tens of millions of Americans that are barely holding on from month to month. Next month, more of them will lose their grip. We really are in the midst of a slow motion economic collapse, and poverty and hunger really are growing all around us. But for now, those in the high end of the economic spectrum are still living the high life, but it is just a matter of time before they experience severe economic pain as well. And this is from Michael Snyder on the Economic Collapse blog. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. About the author, Michael Snyder's new book, Why, is available on paperback and for Kindle on Amazon. He's also written 8 other books available on Amazon, including Chaos, End Times, 7-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophets in the Future of America, The Beginning of the End, and Living a Life That Really Matters. When you purchase any of Michael's books, you help to support the work that he's doing. You can also get his articles by email as soon as he publishes them by subscribing to his Substack newsletter. Michael has published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and the Most Important News, and he always freely, happily allows others to republish those articles on their own websites. These are such troubled times and people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, we strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. Finally, support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.